знаете, я вам хочу что сказать. Соединенные Штаты опоздали лет на 15. Они не смогут остановить развитие Китая. Это невозможно сделать, даже как вот невозможно сказать Солнцу, не вставай. Оно все равно поднимется. Но есть объективные процессы экономического развития. Они связаны с миллионом факторов. И вот эта попытка сдержать развитие Китая, она негативно отражается и на экономике самих Соединенных Штатов. Они делают производство ряда своих товаров низкоконкурентоспособными. А если дальше пойдут по этому пути, сделают вообще неконкурентоспособные отдельные отрасли экономики. Так сложилась кооперация на протяжении предыдущих десятилетий между экономикой Китая и Соединенными Штатами. Она взаимосвязана. Все это понимают. Но вот те действия, которые мы наблюдаем сегодня со стороны Штатов, мне кажется, что они имеют контрпродуктивный характер.
And someone, please, just one of you, just blink already. The White House has just announced that China will now be facing a 245% tariff as a result of their retaliations against the U.S. And one of those, you may ask, well, China's ordered all their airlines to stop future Boeing deliveries and banned the purchase of U.S. aircraft parts, which, keep in mind, is one of America's biggest exports. On top of that, Hong Kong has suspended postal services to the U.S., meaning they are now refusing to handle any packages coming from or going to the United States. And then, for the biggest blow, China has now paused the exports of 7 critical rare earth minerals. That is significant because these rare earth minerals are essential for making so many things, like smartphones, cars, and even weapons like drones and missiles. And why that's such a big deal is because China holds a near monopoly over the production process of these minerals, a staggering 92% of global output. So you can look at that in two ways. One, that's crazy. Why would Trump pick a fight with China when they have that on the US? And two, the US should not rely that much on another country, especially for something so critical, so it needs to change. Both of those ways of looking at it are simultaneously true. However, that doesn't mean that America doesn't have anything on China. A massive 1/5 of their entire economy is made up of exports. China has around 20 million workers involved in US-bound exports alone. So if US buyers dry up because of tariffs, the hit to China's economy will be significant. But I mean, at this point, it hardly matters which side suffers more as a result of this trade war. Because ultimately, when the rich lose investments, the poor lose their homes. So, please.
More than 70% of America's small businesses import goods or materials from foreign countries. That's according to a recent survey from FedEx. Well, one owner spoke exclusively to CBS Mornings about how she is fighting back with a high-profile lawsuit against what she calls an unlawful trade policy.
Over the last 17 years, Emily Lay has built her American dream, a small business selling planners and stationery in the U.S. by manufacturing them in China.
I would love to make them here, but the U.S. simply doesn't have the infrastructure.
So when President Trump announced his new tariffs on China, Lay, the founder and CEO of Simplified, crunched the numbers on her signature $64 planner.
If it were going to completely cover the tariffs, we would have to raise prices to $82.
Do you think people are going to buy this for $82? With all due respect?
No, I wouldn't.
That's why the mother of 3 has decided to take action. You're suing the president. Why?
Because he created these tariffs without the involvement of Congress. And Congress, had they had a chance to be involved, I would have then had the opportunity to make my voice heard. That didn't happen.
Lay filed this complaint against President Trump, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, and the acting CBP Commissioner Pete Flores, alleging that they have illegally used emergency power to impose tariffs on China.
We are cheap red and black checker pieces in an international trade war board game. We are just at the mercy of whatever is decided next without congressional involvement.
Lay has a lot on the line.
That means we're paying $18 to the U.S. government.
Simplified employs 9 workers, all women. And since Trump's first round of tariffs was implemented in 2018, she says she's paid roughly $1.2 million in tariffs over those 8 years. That amount is now skyrocketing.
Over the next 12 months, my company is looking at paying anywhere between $830,000 and $1 million in tariffs.
President Trump has said, short-term pain for long-term gain. What's your response to that?
We can't survive the short-term pain, and especially without any sort of plan in place to create the infrastructure here.
In response to Lay's lawsuit, a White House spokesperson told CBS News President Trump has broad authority to impose tariffs to address issues of national emergency. The Trump administration looks forward to victory in court. Lay says she's ready for the fight.
If this is the end of my American dream, I'm going to go down swinging.
Stone that signifies the dawn of a new era. This isn't about catching up. It's about rewriting the rules of the game. The fallout extends beyond semiconductor fabs. Behind the scenes, Beijing is quietly escalating a broader strategy that could destabilize the global financial landscape. China has begun offloading U.S. tech-linked assets and sovereign bond holdings in carefully timed batches, a move designed to weaponize capital. If the battle over chips shifts to financial markets, the impact could ripple far beyond tech stocks. Retirement funds, mortgage rates, and even the stability of global markets could become collateral damage. What happens when this ceases being a tech war and becomes a battle for economic dominance? The storm is already brewing, and its effects could be catastrophic. China's patent filings reveal a parallel story. By late 2024, it had registered over 21,000 semiconductor-related patents, reflecting a 34% increase year over year. This isn't merely about volume, it's about ownership of the future. Beijing is taking the reins, declaring its independence from a West that once held it captive through supply chains and sanctions. The semiconductor industry is just the first battleground. The real war will unfold in markets where the stakes are higher than ever. For the West, the implications are severe. Companies like ASML and TSMC face a shrinking presence in the world's largest market, while industries reliant on advanced chips, automotive, aerospace, consumer electronics, could find themselves at Beijing's mercy. Washington's export bans, once hailed as a masterstroke, may have backfired, accelerating China's ascent rather than stifling it. The U.S. and its allies now confront a stark choice: adapt to a world where China holds the chips or risk being left behind. As the dust settles, one thing is clear: this isn't just the evolution of technology, it's a realignment of global power. China's bold move wasn't a retreat, it was a declaration. The storm is here, and the world must brace for what comes next. Whether it's a future of innovation or chaos, one question looms large: who will control the chips and the power that define tomorrow?
They all thought that China was going to sit back and just let the U.S. roll over them, a 5,000-year-old civilization, a country that has taken 700 million people out of poverty. You thought that they were going to roll over? You Americans and you Maga, what you're suffering from is a white prejudice in your head. And you all think that you're better than everybody. In the meantime, over the 40 years, all of these people who get on TV and blame China, that China took all the jobs. No, China did not take the jobs. The corporation sent them there. And in the 40 years, both countries benefited. But one country built, the other one destroyed. Who is the one that destroyed? Oh, it was America. We spent $1.2 trillion on a war in Iraq that should never have happened. We allowed the banking people to destroy our housing market. We put people in poverty. We give tax breaks to the millionaires, and then we want to blame it all on China. Yeah, we want to blame it all on China. No, blame it on your nasty, disgusting politicians that you vote for and put in Congress. That's who you need to blame it on. There is no reason in a 40-year relationship that one side of the relationship, they are able to take 700 million people out of poverty, while the other side of the relationship has had nothing but destruction and a collapse of society. society. Because what we have now in the West is a collapse of society. All we have are disaffected, white, angry men who they believe they are owed something. You're owed not a fucking thing. You come into the world on your own. Even if you're a twin, you come in one by one. And you are responsible when you grow up to become something. Nobody owes you anything. But you all been so accustomed to getting everything to you on a silver platter that you forgot what hard work is. Fuck off. I hope that guy that's on here and you guys keep stitching him about how he's going to lose everything. Yes. Lose it all. Because you are the type of person who want to see other people suffer, but you don't want to suffer. So fuck off.
Dr. Gao, the US may not be declaring war on China, but Vice President J.D. Vance recently said, to make it a little more crystal clear, I'm quoting here, we borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture. So it's maybe not a declaration of war, but it's certainly not a show of respect to another global leader. Is this how a world superpower should behave?
Well, J.D. Vance and I went to the same law school, Yale Law School. I was 20 years ahead of him. I'm ashamed by what J.D. Vance said, because he kept talking about the Chinese peasants, etc. Let me make the simple point. The urban population in China is about 3 times as big as the total population in the United States. The middle class in China is more than the total number of the people in the United States. So if J.D. Vance comes to China, he could barely find a peasant at all, because he will see the urban population. And by today, China is one of the leading industrialized nations in the world.
All right, so who's gonna blink fast between China and America? These tariffs back and forth is really affecting the common citizen who's depending on 9-to-5 job, to be honest, because you know, people who have small businesses, people who are living paycheck to paycheck, those are the ones who are suffering. But the big corporations, the billionaires, multimillionaires, those guys, they are not feeling the effect of the tariff because they can absorb the effect. They're able to pay, you know, the extra cash with no problem at all, because they have the money in the bank, they have the money in the system through their business, and they definitely, if they are told, you know, you need to add a few dollars here and there, definitely they can afford it. And of course the cost is going to be passed down to the normal customer to be able to pay the extra dollar. That is the reality. So who's going to blink first? Right now we are seeing China trying to, you know, to decouple itself from America. You have seen they have literally told their airlines not to order from Boeing. We are seeing they've ordered beef from Brazil instead of USA. You have seen literally trying, you know, to sell the treasury bills in the Wall Street, and right now you can see the stock market shares, they've been going down. The prices are really going down. They're tanking. I mean, right now you're seeing things are happening in the economy right now, and literally I feel like if things go on like this, things might be bad, especially for the common citizen, the common person, you know, the person who usually depend on their job to survive, to be able to take care of their family, the person who literally depend on, you know, going to the grocery, buy your grocery, and of course you just mind your own business, just making sure you have a roof over your head, you're able to take care of your family, you're able to buy food, and of course you have health insurance, basically the normal average Tom and Harry. That's basically it. But who's gonna be the winner? Who's gonna be the loser? Honestly, there's no winner or loser. Right now, everybody's trying, between China and America, everyone is trying to flex to show who's more superior. But according to President Putin of Russia, he said America, they are 15 years late in trying to stop China rising in terms of development, in terms of technology advancement, in terms of economic development. They're 15 years too late, because China, to be honest, they have literally prepared themselves. You know, China has been having this plan where when they want to do development, they should look at 20, 50-year plan, you know. They always use that. And especially during the 2018, when President Trump was he was in power, and those tariffs were introduced, the Chinese people, they got a taste of what Trump is all about. And yes, they prepare just in case there's a scenario where there's going to be another president who's going to literally put on tariffs that are going to stifle China rising. And right now you can literally see China is showing the world that, you know what, we can survive with or without America. Without America, that's what they're telling us, and they're showing it. And you can literally see how they have their own plans, where they literally say, okay, we are stopping Boeing, we are going to go look for alternative markets, we are going to have our own materials in our own market in China, and literally they're literally doing it. So who will blink fast? That is the question. But the thing is, the people who are going to suffer, especially in America, is a common person, small business people, farmers, people who are depending on paycheck to paycheck, people who have 9-to-5 jobs, people who are homeless, people who are literally depending on those government to provide subsidies so that they're able to take care of themselves. Those are the people who are going to suffer. The corporations, the billionaires, those guys, they're going to survive. But the people who are going to suffer, especially during this crucial period where they're saying, you know, right now American people, they have to experience the short-term pain for a long-time enjoyment. The short-term pain is for how long? Do they have the infrastructure in place? Do they have a plan? Do they have a subsidies where they can cushion the small business people, the normal person, you know, so that they can be able, you know, to afford the expensive grocery? All that they need to put in place. They need to tell people it's no longer there. So who's gonna suffer? Of course, the common citizen. All right, guys, please subscribe to my channel. Okay, bye.